Good morning, it is now Monday, so we have a brand new week ahead of us, and I'm going to be making a pretty big decision today in terms of shifting my language plan a little bit. And we're going to be talking about how the most efficient language learning strategy is not always the best one for you. Morning chaps, so I've got my coffee here. I just finished a few pieces of toast while I was doing some Portuguese reviews on Babble. And now today I'm really excited about this topic because I've been wanting to dive deeper into this idea that, sometimes I think language learners spend a lot of time searching for the best method, right? Or the most efficient way of learning X, Y, or Z. And sometimes there really is no right answer. There are so many different ways of doing everything. And then sometimes there are certain methods or certain principles that are sort of widely agreed upon as perhaps being like the most effective in general, right? And so one of those examples is with reading. So in the polyglot space, it's widely sort of, I guess, somewhat agreed upon that extensive reading is sort of one of the secrets of polyglots, right? That we read extensively, so we don't look for every single vocabulary word, we don't stop every single page, we look for content that is comprehensible. This is the idea of comprehensible input. Just read. You just keep reading. And the idea of extensive reading is that it can be extremely effective in rapidly growing your vocabulary and growing your sort of sense for the language, right? Because what's going to happen is that you will see the same words over and over and over and over again, right? All the most important, most common words will occur very frequently. So if you're able to cover an entire book, right, because you're not stopping at every single word, then in theory you will see those same words over and over again, and you'll get context-based sort of data points that you can correlate and say, oh, I think that this word means that, right, because I've seen it 5-6 times. Now, it's interesting because in my personal experience, that's actually not what I like to do. So I have found that while this is a good theory, and it makes perfect sense, and and it does work in a way, but I actually find that it leaves a lot to be desired, right? And I have had experiences where I learned a word from extensive reading, and like years later, I realized I actually was not fully understanding the word. So the fact is that although that method makes perfect sense to me, and though it is widely accepted as being more efficient than bogging yourself down right from the beginning, reading difficult stuff and looking up the words, the point is that that's what I like to do, right? I'm very curious. I'm extremely curious. And so when I'm reading a book, right, or any sort of text, I'm dying to understand every word, right? And so as I'm reading through, it's like this I'm like a detective, right? I feel like a detective, and I'm uncovering every word, and I love like marking it up, making notes, and making word lists, and pulling out phrases and everything I can. I love if I encounter something. I remember in French, I was reading Le Petit Prince, and it was my first book I ever read in a foreign language, and I remember I encountered this il faut a couple times. And so I went online, I looked it up, and I learned all about il faut as a sort of impersonal grammatical structure that doesn't really have a subject. You say il faut aller, you have to go. It could mean we have to go, you have to go, they have to go, one has to go. So I remember with The Little Prince, my notes were interesting because I had words, vocabulary, and then I would have these little boxes when I would learn a whole new grammatical structure or component of French. And so the point is, it might not be the most efficient way of learning a language according to many people, but that's what I like to do. right? That's what makes me happy. And so it's the best method for me, and it works very well, right? As you guys know, that's one thing that I became somewhat known for, is that I learned French to an extremely high level in a very short period of time. And then I actually got hired for Expedia France as a French employee, not as a foreign employee. I got hired as a French employee, and I did a customer service job in French, and I had never lived in France at the time. So the point is that, again, the most efficient method is not necessarily the best one for you. But today, we have a new perspective, a new dimension to this main point, which is that in German, as you guys know, that I chose to not do Babble for German this time, because I've gone through German's Babble's German catalog, probably 3 times. At least 2, I think maybe 3 times in the past, and it was extremely helpful. It really was, and I loved it. I enjoyed it tremendously. But I still, I'd done it quite a few times, and I had some amazing graded readers, and I decided, I don't think it's actually necessary to go back through Babble a 4th time. I think I'll just move on. And with Portuguese, I did decide to do Babble. Today I'm deciding that I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to do Babble in German. Why? Why would I change my plan? Well, here's a good point. First of all, remember, I always talk about you should be flexible. I mention this a lot in my book, and I mention it a lot in my videos. You have to be flexible. You have to be willing to change the plan. But the trick is changing it at the right time, right? Not just changing it every single time you get unsure. The reason why I'm changing it is because, as you guys know, if you've been following this journey, that right now I have an insane amount of stuff going on with moving. I just left Charlotte. I don't know where I'm gonna be in a week. One day next week, I'll be flying somewhere for a final interview at a company I've been interviewing with, and I really hope it works out. I don't even know what day I'm flying yet, right? Like this, I have a binder here, and this binder literally is going to be completely full of notes on some new technologies I'm learning over the next week. I mean, I have so much going on right now, and I'm finding it difficult actually to make time for my German. With Portuguese, I'm doing great. I'm doing really well, and it's because I'm doing Babble. Now, it's not just Babble, it could be anything, but the point is that I really like Babble. I like how well structured it is. I like how I have everything in one. I have my review manager. I can do flashcards if I want to. All the lessons are structured, and I've already done it before, so I know the content very well. So for me, it's basically a review. It's reviving all the knowledge I already have. But the fact is, it's just easy for me to do. So I find it really easy to make time for Babble, because I can just really quickly log in. I can bang out 50 reviews in 10 minutes, or 20 minutes. I can do Babble on my mobile phone when I'm walking, when I'm at a coffee shop, when I'm in bed. I can do it everywhere and anywhere. For some reason, it's just really easy for me to make time for Babble. I just find it really, really easy. And that's why it was a great tool for me in the past, and it helped me succeed. So honestly, I don't think I need to do Babble right now necessarily, and I don't think that it's necessarily the most efficient way. If I could just sit down and blast through my graded readers, blast through easy German, I think I would actually learn more quickly. But the point of this video is that sometimes, even though, for me, doing Babble in German might not be the most efficient method if we just look at raw data or my, objective opinion on what's the most efficient thing. However, all of our lives have context, right? And so the context of my life right now and my current circumstances tells me that actually Babble is the best thing for me to do right now, because for the next month or so, my life's going to be kind of crazy. I might be moving. I'm going to be starting a whole new job in a brand new industry. Even if I don't get this job next week, I will be starting a new job at some point. So I know for the next month or two, my life's going to be a bit crazy. So I think if I do German Babble, blast through it, just like I'm blasting through it in Portuguese, it's gonna help me a lot. And again, I've gone through it several times, so it's all that knowledge I used to have is gonna come back. Not to mention, you guys have seen my German update videos. My grammar needs improving, and so it's going to be very helpful to go back through all of the wonderful grammar explanations in Babble. So I think it's a really cool topic. So again, I'll say it one last time. The most efficient, objectively most efficient method in language learning for anything, it's not necessarily the best method for you right now with your current circumstances in the context of your life. So here I am downtown in Hendersonville. This is not a large downtown, but it's quite lovely. And this is a perfect example. I'm here waiting to be picked up in the car. You can't go anywhere here without a car. But I'm just sitting here, you know, on this bench, and I was able to do another 30 reviews of my German Babble and another 20 for Portuguese, just like that. So it's just so easy to do at my dead time. But there is my ride, so I will get in the car and I'll do another bunch of reviews on the way home.